Here at Mirror Now, we continue our relentless campaign, Old Car Not Bekaar. So far, we have spoken about the Delhi government's tyranny, how the transport department officials have impounded vehicles, overage vehicles, and sent them to junkyards without informing the citizens. Our campaign, with your voices, brought to light the callousness, the gundagardi of the Delhi government, the MCD and scrap companies, and how in some cases cars were seized only to extort money. After nearly 2 weeks, authorities are finally responding to citizens' plight and plea. Sources are telling us that the civic body, that's the MCD, has now promised a probe into the complaints made by citizens. Earlier, the Congress party too had reacted and lauded Mirror Now's efforts, saying that they stand with the citizens of the city and they too want to know why overage cars are being impounded and sent to scrapyards without citizens being sent a notice. They are also demanding a new policy for the scrapping of cars. Let me straight away go across to my first guest this evening. We have the former ASG of Delhi, Aman Lekhi, who is joining us on the broadcast. Thank you very much, Mr. Lekhi, for being with us here on Mirror Now. Fact is that for the last 6 months, people have been running around in circles, people whose cars have been picked up from outside their homes, picked up from inside gated colonies. They have not got any response from anyone in power. No one in power in Delhi has responded to them or to their concerns. Now these citizens are being told that, look, if your vehicle is being picked up from outside your residences or gated colonies without a notice, you have to prove that they have been picked up from outside your residences and gated colonies. What is this if not theatre of the absurd? Instead of returning your vehicle to you, the government is saying, you prove that we were wrong.
Absolutely, you described it appropriately. I mean, it is absurd and extreme. And a question is, who in his rights or her right senses will take his or her own vehicle away from his or her own home to a place of detention, to be held by anyone for an indefinite duration, to ask from that person to return the vehicle, and the only occasion for returning of the vehicle would be to explain that he did not actually go over there, because in the first place, if he's seeking the vehicle back, he would not have taken it away from him in any case. One. Two, what is more important is, you see, that they act on the assumption that there is a presumed legitimacy to official action, which is also one of the principles. But this is a very misapplied principle, because the presumption of legitimacy does not in any way extend to the compliance with the substantive requirements of law. Now, law in this particular case requires is satisfaction on use. The onus to show use is not on the person whose vehicle is taken. The onus to show use is on the body seeking to enforce an obligation. So because the onus is on them, the question of anything to be shown by the person against whom action is taken would arise only after that onus is first discharged. So you cannot presume that there's an entitlement and then require a person against whom acting to respond, because the entitlement cannot be presumed and the onus to show that the entitlement exists in the body claiming the right. So in this particular case, this is inverting the process altogether and creating an additional liability on a person against whom action is being taken, apart from the penalty which a person is actually facing by reason of being deprived in an unauthorized manner of his own vehicle.
Okay, Mr. Vasan, Mr. Lekhi, could you give me a minute here? Because I want to take my next question to Vasan Iyer, who met the Special Commissioner Transport Department yesterday. Could you tell me what happened in that meeting?
Actually, this meeting happened today.
Oh, the meeting
Yeah, it happened today. Anyway, first, I'd like to thank you for inviting me and backing this campaign. So I happened to meet the Special Commissioner today, Mr. Shahzan Alam today. So actually, his meeting time is around 10 to 11 in the morning. So I happened to reach there by 10. So maybe because of his prior commitments, I was able to get an appointment only around 2:30 in the afternoon. So I told him about my case, that my vehicle was impounded from within my colony, and no prior notice was given to me or any intimation that the vehicle would be picked up. So it's been a bit disturbing. So I met the commissioner today, and he wrote a remark on my application, and he's told his department to put photographs of the vehicle which has been seized on this date. So that's where the application is.
Anything else? Is there any explanation coming by way of why your vehicle or vehicles of so many people in this city have been picked up without a notice from inside gated colonies and from outside their homes without a notice? Because as far as I know, and we've spoken to so many citizens, I wonder if this is your. They've been running around in circles trying to speak to everyone, appealing to the Delhi police, to the MCD, to the transport commissioner. Some have even written to Arvind Kejriwal. And there has been a stunning silence. I mean, the whole point of governance is to make the lives of citizens easier, not to make them run around in circles. And this is a government, the Aam Aadmi Party government, had actually promised a change. They had said, we are your government, and we will do what requires to be done for you. This is not the way to do it. Anyhow, tell us, what happened with you?
Actually, my mom had a very severe brain hemorrhage. So the expiry date of my vehicle expired in December. That was 1st of December 2022. So my mom had a very severe brain hemorrhage on 29th of October 2022. She was in the ICU for 55 days. So she came back on 17th of November 2022. So she's still recovering at home. So actually, I couldn't attend to the car. Otherwise, I had intentions of converting this into an electric vehicle. Or I was planning to send it to some other state where I have another residence. But I didn't get time to attend to this car. But last year even I went to the RTO in Sarai Khale Khan, and I met a very top officer over there. That time itself I wanted to get this car converted to an electric car. So it was completely discouraged because he told me, very good quality kits are not available right now and you still got a year's time. So maybe you would like to reconsider this, just if some other good car kits are available, these electric kits. So today I happened to ask the commissioner himself if you can guide me. And then if you can send this from the scrapper to some agency which can convert this to an electric vehicle. So because I need to retain this vehicle because I've got some deep attachments, sentimental attachments with this vehicle. So he didn't have an answer for that. So I don't know, it's more of a red herring for me that he's mentioned in my comments that he's instructing his department to check, give me the photographs how this vehicle was seized. It's just contrary to what is happening to other people, which I've been communicating with other people. So it sounds a bit funny, And my vehicle has been in a sedentary position, like it's not been moving around. So there is no pollution which is happening from this vehicle. And I'm using the other vehicle. So I don't see any reason that why they should be, entering into a guarded premises and then confiscating the vehicles, which I'm seeing, which is happening over the last few days. It's very disturbing. It's very perturbing for citizens of Delhi. I don't know what's the reason they're doing it. I think there could be a more polite way of doing it by giving a notice or an intimation.
There is no need to harass citizens.
Absolutely right.
Mr. Lekhi, that's the whole point. What is governance? Governance is supposed to make the life of citizens easy in our country. In this case, it seems to be that Delhi government and its authorities are doing exactly the opposite. I want to ask you, what's your sense about why there hasn't been the sort of response that you would have expected, say, from the MCD or from the Transport Department or the Delhi government? Given how much angst the drive is causing citizens of Delhi, why do you think that is?
Because we are basically callous. And those in power, we feel they are unaccountable. This obligation to respond or the necessity to recognize the entitlement of a common man is lost almost immediately upon a person assuming office. So the arrogance of power subsumes everything else. The question is, those in authority don't like to be questioned. And because the questions you are putting requires them to explain, they feel that by reason of an explanation is being sought, they are being dragged into an arena where they are not supposed to be, because they are very well ensconced in a position of power where they feel that the exercise of authority by them in any manner they think right would be legitimate. That is the first problem. The second problem here is all the authorities think that they got the Supreme Court behind the back, and whatever they are doing is in terms of the Supreme Court's order. And because it's in terms of the Supreme Court's order, but the point is, even if there's a Supreme Court order, the method of enforcement, there's no court, even the Supreme Court, no court can actually say that in enforcing a liability, you disregard the method. So if there's a method and there's a fairness, which is written into a process merely because an entitlement is conceded doesn't necessarily empower the person or the authorities to impose a methodology which is lacking in legitimacy or fairness. So this is something again which has to be. And thirdly, most importantly, which is where your role, and which is a seminal a role of seminal importance, and something which you are undertaking with a fair amount of diligence and complete capacity, is holding them to account. Because the question is, by reason of the questions you're putting, there's a churn. Because there's a churn, there are questions. And because questions in any case will proliferate, in that event, the obligation to answer will naturally arise. So in this particular case, I mean, coming back to what I said in the beginning, the only explanation that is not, this is not only in the context of the vehicles over here, this is context of power generally. The only occasion I can see is that insofar as the democratic nature of the government is lost in the hands of bureaucrats who are in some ways subsumed by their own authority, so as to act outside the process itself and not feel in any way under any obligation to respond even to legitimate queries about their own acts.
Mr. Lekhi, we leave it there for the moment. The fact